Hi folks, well it's deck time. We're going to start our front deck. It's a big one. It's going to be about 280 square feet. We've got a little prep work to do ahead of time. We have to put some vents in the front of the cabin, clean out the old stairs and clean the whole face of it up a little bit, and then we'll get at it. Now Anna and I move pretty slow, but this session we're hoping to get about halfway and we'll be happy with that. So let's get going. When the siding went up, they put a flashing on at the bottom of the siding, this black flashing here, and it's made of aluminum. I read on the internet that aluminum and the copper that's in pressure treated wood aren't compatible, and the aluminum will corrode. So you shouldn't have aluminum sitting on pressure treated wood. Now when I asked at the big box stores, the guys there said, oh no, that was the old stuff, the green wood, not the brown wood. So they might be right on that. What I'm doing now is I'm going along trying to find the nails under here and pull them out. Back when I was drawing the plans for this place, I thought it would be a good idea to put some vents in the foundation. So I put 3 on this side. They're 8 inches by 16 inches. And then I was going to either buy or make a metal vent to go over it so critters and bugs can get in. But I've put it on hold up till now. But now that the deck is going on here, I've got to do something about that. So I'm going to take off these boards and try and fashion a vent that will fit in there. Because once the deck's on, there's no way I'm going to be able to get at it. So to get ready for the deck, we've taken apart our temporary and very awkward set of stairs we had here, made of a mishmash of wood and blocks, and we're going to move them around to the side of the house. What we're doing this time though is we put a couple of pallets down, and we've just brought the bench over, and I think Anna's going to swing the bench in. I don't know, this may not be the most stable, but it's going to be temporary, we hope. That block is heavy. Well, that's our new staircase for the back door.
You want it right on the line.
Right on that line, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well, Anna and I just dropped the chalk line on top of the piers where we think the beam should be. I borrowed this huge drill from a friend of mine, Steve, and I'm going to be using a 3/4 inch bit that I bought at Home Depot. They're not cheap, 75 bucks for one bit. So we're going to be drilling holes, and I've marked them here, and it's going to go right there, right on the chalk line, and then the saddle will sit just a little off center, a little closer to the outside. These are 5-inch threaded rods, and I want about 4 inches of it into the pier, so I'm going to drill a hole 4.5 inches, like up to that tape, and then set the bolt in there. These bolts are 5/8 of an inch in diameter. Significant size bolt, that's for sure.
Whoa, are you all right?
Knocked my watch right off.
Yeah. What happened? It twisted.
You're supposed to hold it with 2 hands, and I didn't. Stupid. Good. Well, the big hammer drill, it's called a Bosch hammer that Steve lent me. It was fabulous. It drilled through those piers just like butter. It's a big, powerful machine. Now, I'm not sure we caught it on video, but on, I think it was the 3rd pier, I was leaning over to see if I had it lined up straight, and I took one hand off of it. And what happened, of course, is the drill bit stopped, and the actual drill started turning, and it spun out of my hand, sprained my thumb, broke my watch, and cut my wrist. So as a rookie, I just learned my first serious lesson about the Bosch hammer, and that's keep both hands on it at all times. I'm going to anchor the bolts in the holes now, and I'm using this epoxy. This one here, it's a rapid setting anchoring epoxy, and I don't know if you can see down It has two different sides, two different chemicals. And when they come out, when they're squeezed out, they go through this mixing tube and it spirals them and it mixes them together and they come out hopefully uniform. So that's it, all 6 bolts are anchored in with the epoxy. Well, it's been about 2 hours since I finished putting the epoxy on the threaded bolts. So I'm just going to check on them and see that it's solid, hard as a rock. So I'm just going to go around and put on the saddles with this big washer and nut. And I'll just put them on finger tight at first until I get them lined up, and then I'll cinch them down with a socket. I don't see it.
I don't see it.
A little too bright outside.
Let's try the string.
We're going to try the string because that doesn't make sense. But that doesn't make sense because if you look over here, that's where the laser is. Right there.
Right.
That's the laser that marks the edge there. But I can't believe that's right.
Yes. Yep, it is. Yeah, okay.
Okay, so that's the string method right there. And it's 4 inches to the left.
Oh!
See? That's the string, that's the laser. You can still see them.
What?
So splicing the beam together, the middle ply is 1/8 of an inch too high. So I'm just going to shave it off from here to here, where it sits on the post, and that'll make the beam level. Well, as we're laminating the beam here, I realize that I'm moving pretty slow. And that's because the average contractor or deck builder, they have the tricks of the trade and experience, and they can just motor along. But me, I have to rethink and think everything as I go along. For example, laminating all these together, you see there's spaces in between, and I can pull them together and nail them, but they won't be tight. And I want them tight together, like no space. And so in order to do that, as I've come along, and we've come all this way, I'm clamping them together, squeezing them real tight so there is no space, and then I nail them. But before I nail them, I'm also using this combination square and setting it on there to make sure all 3 plies are touching so they're level. Now if they're not, if one of them's too high or too low, what we've been doing is drilling a screw into one of them. Now this one's too low or this one's too high. So if we put the hammer on like that and pull down, it pushes the middle one down and pulls the outside one up and makes them level. So Anna usually helps me with this, and when she's pulling on it like this, that's when I drive the nails in, and we end up with a nice flush top of beam. Pull slightly. Good. That should hold it. How are we doing right there? That looks good. Well, last night we finished the beam, and I think we're in good shape there. It looks pretty good. So the next thing on the agenda was to put the ledger board up on the wall. Now you can see there's one piece up there temporarily already. We had to figure out exactly where that goes, and it needs to be so that the top of the ledger is the height of the top of the joists, which are going to come across and sit on top of the beam. So we need to determine the height of the beam over on the wall. So my friend Steve had lent me his laser. So we shot the laser so that it would nick the top of the beam and then shine on the wall. And then we'd know. We just add the height of wherever the beam height is, we added the height of the joist, and that's where we needed to put the ledger. So that would be good, except the laser, which works fabulous indoors, doesn't work that great outdoors because the brightness really washes out the laser, and it's hard to see, really hard to see. So we tried it with the laser, and we marked a few spots on the wall, but we really didn't trust it because it was so faint we weren't sure. So what we did was we went to the straight edge level method. So we put the straight edge on the beam, brought it across to the wall, put a level on it, and found out where the height of the beam was. It turns out that the couple of marks we made with the laser matched the straight edge with the level, so we did manage to figure out where the ledger board had to go. With the beam complete, I'm going to now put a tape on top of it, a membrane. These seams here, water can get down in there and has trouble drying out, so they recommend to put a tape on top. Now, I've never seen it before be done, but I hear and understand that that's what they do now. It's a black sticky substance, and you roll it out and put it on. It's supposed to keep the water from going down in the cracks. I'll tell you how to pull it, or how fast it is. You're on that line?
Yeah.
Is that good there?
Yeah, yep.
So push on it. Still good?
Yeah.
So ledger board's tacked in place. Now we just got to go along and put all the bolts in all the way along. Not really sure what the pattern is. Can't really find it online. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be a W pattern like this, but I'm not sure of what the distance is. I originally planned 14 inches, 14 between there and 14 between there. So the bolt is set to go there, but the joist hanger is going to be here, so I'm just move it over a bit.
It looks like it's come out.
We never put in. That was when we were just first hanging them.
Oh, okay.
I never did it tight. There we go. Snug this one up. So we're putting up the vinyl flashing over top of the ledger board and got a few pieces in place. And the next piece is going to go right in the middle there. And put some tuck tape over to the top where the slots are, where the nails normally go, but we're not nailing it in. And just so water doesn't back up and get through those slots, we covered it with tuck tape. Easy enough to do. So I'm just going to slip this piece underneath the vinyl here. We're starting to put the joists up from the ledger out to the beam, and from what I've seen, different people, they take the joist, they hold it up at exactly the top of the ledger, like that. You take the nail gun and fire 2 nails in and hold it in place. Then when it's in place, it's already in place, they come along and put the joist hanger up from the bottom. And then they nail it in or screw it in. And that ensures that the joists will all be at the exact same height equal to the ledger. Because if you don't do it that way, if you just put this on, and then this dimensional lumber is different, one is 7 1/4, one is 7 3/8, then some will be an 1/8 inch too high or an 1/8 inch too low. So that way is good. The problem for me is when I hold that board up and I take the gun and shoot it, I'm not good enough at it. The power of the gun knocks the board. I hit over here and I end up with a board like that. So I'm just no good at it. I think that's the right way, but I can't do it. So to compensate for that, I measured the height of all my joists, and almost all of them are 7 1/4. So I cut this piece 7 1/4. I put it in there like that. I set it here so it's equal, level with the ledger, and then screw it in like that. Pop this out and it's ready to go, and I can just slip my joist in there. They're all in place with 2 screws. Most of them have just 2 screws in them, and that'll hold them in place and keep them plumb. But each joist hanger requires 10 screws, 5 on each side. 3 down this side and 2 diagonally, same on this side. So I'm going to have to come back and put 8 more screws in each joist. We're going to need about 32 deck joists, 2x8 pressure treated. So the other day I ordered 17 14 foot 2x8s pressure treated. That way I can cut them in half into 2 7-footers and we'll have enough. So I think that's going to be this evening's job, is to start cutting these up. The beam has been shimmed now. Use this piece of pressure treated wood to put underneath the beam to lift it to the right height. And then there was a space here between the beam and the saddle, because the saddle's a little bigger. So I had to put a spacer in there, about a 3/4 inch spacer, pressure treated spacer, to make it tight. And now I'm going to go along and use these hot dip galvanized structural screws. I'm going to put them in these holes through the saddle into the beam, and that'll tie the beam to the pier. And the reason for that is so any violent winds or storms can't uplift the beam and the deck and move it or rip it off, because it'll be tied to the pier. It's been a really hot and dry summer so far, so much so that the lake levels are way down, and there's been a total fire ban in our area and in most of southern Ontario for that matter. But over the last few days we've had some rain, and last night it rained solid through the whole night, quite heavy, so the fire ban has been lifted, and now you can have a fire after 7 o'clock at night. So Anna, harking back to our tent days when we had a fire almost every night, decided to start one up. So while I was finishing off the beam, she got the fire ready, and this is our first fire of this summer, really. And what is it, about 7 o'clock? 7?
Yeah. I don't have a watch. No, 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. And it's still light though. I'm in this.
Come on, it's okay. Oh, see it?
You good boy. Is that good boy? Hmm? Not into fires, bud?
What a look!
Shep's not a big fan of the fire, so he's found a safe distance away behind a stump in a little hole that he dug. I think he feels safer over there. We're not offended. So we're working on the end joist, the one closest to the lake, and I've put up the joist holder, and it's different from the others. All the others have a flange on the outside that you screw into the ledger. But this one, because there's nothing to screw in on the end, the flange is on the inside. So I've put the 6 screws in the concealed flange, and the joist will just sit in there. The only problem is the heads of those screws push the joist out this way about 1/4 of an inch, which is too much. So what I'm going to do is set the joist on here, hit it with a sledgehammer so it marks where these screws are, and then I'll drill a little. And do it again, bud. Here we go.
Okay.
That came off at the end. That's a bad one. Okay?
Yep.
That was a good one.
That was a good one.
Bad one and a good one. Generally speaking, I cannot make a straight cut at the best of times, so cutting upside down was a bit of a challenge. Now we cut 31 joists here to get them all even, and I say I butchered about 10 of them. But overall, I don't know if you can tell on camera, we've got it fairly straight, even though the ends of some of these are really mashed up. Anyway.
Good. Oh, ugly.
So we just ran a line from that far corner to this corner and took a measurement. And then we went from this corner over here to this corner down here. And it was pretty much right on the same measurement. So I guess we fluked it. The diagonals are both equal, which means the whole structure is square. So because it's square, we don't have to try and push it one way or another to get it square. So now we can attach the joists to the beam, which we couldn't do before because we might have had to adjust it. So now Anne is using hurricane ties, which are these things right here, to bracket, and 1.5 inch structural screws, and she's tying the joist to the beam. And we've just started first one, and she's on the second one now, and we'll go down the whole deck tying each joist to the beam, which will tighten everything up and nothing will move, hopefully. So when we went along and put this on, I only put the top and bottom ones in because I thought if we ever have to take it apart because it's not square or whatever, better to only have to knock 2 nails out. So now I'm going to go along and add 2 more nails to every joist.
Nice cut.
Pretty close. Close enough.
Very nice.
So we've decided to go with the aluminum railing, and it's a surface mount. It sits right on top of the deck, and in order to make that solid and secure, the posts have to be attached, and 5-inch bolts are sent down through the top layer. Now that would be pretty flimsy, so what I have to do is I have to build blocking underneath here, at least 5 inches, even more, for the bolts to go into, to make sure the posts are really solid. So what I'm going to do along the front of the deck here, everywhere there was a post, I'm going to put triple 2x8s right along here, and I'll glue them together and then use structural screws and screw them in here. So this will be one solid piece of wood, and then when the post gets added, it'll sit on here and the 5-inch bolts will drill down in, and it should make it solid. So I've completed 8 blocks for the railing, and after gluing them, you're supposed to clamp them or apply weight to them. I tried clamping, but the glue is so slippery it makes the pieces slide back and forth on each other. So I've just put these big weights on them. And I'll wait 24 hours and then I'll start putting them in. The blockings had about 20 hours for the glue to set up, so I'm ready to install them. I brought them out, and this one here, the end block, I carved it up a little bit so it would fit in around the joist hangers and the shims. So I'm going to drop this in there, and when I get it in there, I'll secure it with these long structural screws. We'll work on the framework for the stairs, and then we'll do the border or picture frame border around the whole deck, and then decking. Looking forward to it. It's been a long time coming. So anyway, that's the end of this particular trip up, and we'll be back up in probably 2 or 3 days.